What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy DP Dubs, and today we have one for the DIYers out there. That's right. I know it's been 2 months, but the small batch substrate video is finally here. The biggest issue was trying to get this under 20 minutes. I got it done, but this is still a long one, so bear with me. What I like about this recipe is that it's only 3 ingredients, and even with measurements, it's fairly easy to make. Okay, so the first thing we need on the list is Coco Coir. You can get it loose, but you'll always pay more for less. With that being said, I stay bricked up out here.
Hey, yo!
Get it? Because I got the dehydrated bricks? No? Alright. Moving on. Next we have gypsum, aka drywall dust. You don't believe me? Look it up. Now that doesn't mean go tear your walls down. Just go buy you a bottle. And lastly we have vermiculite. So just to give you guys a brief breakdown of the what's and whys, we'll be using the cocoa as a medium. But since it dries out fast, we'll be using the vermiculite to retain some water, and the gypsum will be used as food. If I'm wrong about any of this, correct me in the comments. I'm not above being corrected, trust me. Oh, and before I forget, the price of everything was around $30. The bricks came in at $15, the gypsum was $10, and the vermiculite was $5. And I think I got everything from Amazon. Okay, so what I forgot to tell you is they do sell these in singles for around $8 or $9 on Amazon. They label these at 1.4 pounds, but that's never the case. That's fine. As long as you get 600 grams or more when you weigh it out, you'll be fine. One brick usually gets me about 4 shoe boxes, so if you're doing it that way, I don't see this being an issue. So the next step is to rehydrate the brick. But since we don't trust the packaging, we got to weigh everything out first. So the packaging says 1.4 pounds, which is 635 grams. That's usually never the case. As long as we're over 600, we're good. And look at that, 664. So we're on point. Okay, now it's time to rehydrate the brick. I sped this part of the video for obvious reasons, but all you're really doing is submerging the brick in some water. The temperature really doesn't matter. I like to use lukewarm or room temperature water just because I like to put my hands in there and squish it up. You really don't have to do this. You can let it sit, but in my mind, this makes everything move faster. And you want to continue to do this until there are no dry patches. I also like to do this because I get a chance to inspect the cocoa. A lot of times you'll find weird random stuff. One time I found rocks. I think I found a piece of glass before. That's why I take the extra step of rinsing my cocoa. Matter of fact, since this looked good, we might as well skip ahead to that part now. Alright, so now we're in the area where we can rinse the cocoa. I would prefer to do this outside, but it's cold as balls, so that's not going to happen. And what we need to do this is running water, 2 buckets, and something to strain the cocoa with. And the purpose of doing this is to get rid of some of those foreign objects as well as some of the peat, which is the fine powdery particles in the cocoa. And now that I think about it, not rinsing your cocoa is probably not an issue at all. For mushrooms anyway. I usually rinse and buffer my cocoa when I'm using the medium for plants. But since that's not the case this go around, I'm probably just wasting our time. Anyway, you want to spray the cocoa inside the colander. And not just in one spot. You want to get a nice mixed slurry going. Mix it up a bit. And you do this until the runoff is almost clear. And it's never going to be clear because it's dirt. But when it's like 50 to 60% clear than the first run, then it's time for the next batch. And instead of boring you with another 10 minutes of me rinsing this cocoa, we'll just transition to the next step. Alright, and we're back, and it's been a few days. We've been letting this cocoa dry. It's pretty dry now, so I think it's time to get to the next step. Oh, and let me just say, cleaning that peat out the tub was horrific. It was like black sand everywhere. But this wasn't my first rodeo, so I know what to expect. Alright, so now it's time to mix in that vermiculite and that drywall, or gypsum. Dang it. Did I really just say vixen? What's on my mind right now? Anyway, let's get back to it. So the question is, how much do we mix? So the ratio should be the dry weight of the brick and what was that? 660 or something? Alright, so we're going to go with 660 give or take. So we're going to do half of that for the vermiculite. So that'll be 330 grams of the vermiculite. And then we're going to do half of that, which would be 165 of the gypsum. Did that make sense? All right, to reiterate, for the vermiculite, we're going to do half the weight of the cocoa. And for the gypsum, we're doing half the weight of the vermiculite. That's simple. Oh, and I forgot to mention that we're going to be using 3 quarts of boiling water. So that's 4 ingredients. Sue me. Actually, don't do that. I'm broke. And now, with the power of limited editing skills, we'll fast forward this mixing process. Because I know we all know how to do this. All right, so now that we have the dry ingredients mixed in, it's time to add the boiling water. And yes, I still have the video sped up because I know no one wants to sit here for 20 minutes to watch this. So cue the music again. Not gonna lie, this actually smells good. Gives off a warm, earthy smell. But anyway, we're about done with this, so only thing left to do is pop the lid on this bad boy and let it sit for around 8 hours or so. So roughly overnight.
The next day.
Alright, we are back. This is 24 hours later. I know I said only 8 hours, but I did this in the AM and this is the next morning, so let's see what we got. Alright, in that first glance, everything is looking decent. And now we just give it a little mix or shake, followed by the squeeze test. Squeeze test. Oh my god, sorry. Where's my mind today? I swear I'm just bad with words. Followed by the squeeze test so we can check the moisture. You don't want it too wet or too dry. So when you squeeze it, you want to see just a few droplets. In my opinion, this is just fine for my environment since it's a little dry here. The good thing is if you do make it too moist, you can just let it sit for a day or two, come back, give it a mix, and it should be fine. And if it's too dry, you can always mix in more water. But yeah, this is that last mix I like to do. I just want to make sure it isn't too moist at the bottom. And of course, my hands are clean and sanitized. I would recommend using gloves. I just didn't have any at the time. And like that, ladies and gentlemen, our small batch of substrate is ready to be used. And I say small, but for me, this is a decent amount. This is a 5-gallon bucket and it's more than halfway full. You got to remember, when we started with 1 cocoa brick and we're ending with enough substrate to fill at least 4 shoeboxes, guys. But like always, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.